grade. So, welcome to language. Today we're on pages 7 and 8. This is for language 5. Today we'll be talking about combining ideas with compound verbs. So, we all know that a verb is a word that shows an action, a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. But in this case, we'll talk about some action verbs real quickly. So let's look at the example in the blue box. It says, Mrs. Stevenson smiled. Stevenson. Mrs. Stevenson applauded her class. So there are two ideas in two sentences. Mrs. Stevenson did two things. First, she smiled, then she applauded her class. So how do we take those two ideas and bring them together to make one sentence that includes two ideas? This is called a compound, okay? So, short, choppy sentences, such as the two individual, Mrs. Stevens smiled and Mrs. Stevenson applauded her class, they become kind of monotonous, right? So, we can think of ways to keep choppy sentences from happening in our writing. So, let's look at the example that Mrs. Harvey has on the board. So, Mrs. Harvey clapped. Mrs. Harvey danced. How can we take those two sentences and make it one sentence with two ideas? So, Mrs. Harvey clapped and danced. So, Mrs. Harvey, the subject, did two things. She clapped and she danced. Okay? Two verbs, one subject. This is called a compound verb. Okay? When there are more than one joined by and, it's called a compound verb. This particular portion, we're only talking about verbs here. So, a compound verb is two or more verbs, usually connected by the word and, right? Okay. So, write A. There's just a couple of not quite complete sentences, and I want you to kind of fill in the blanks to let me know two actions that the subject could be doing here. There's only 3 sentences there, so it should be pretty short and simple. Then we're going to move on to page 8, okay? And so page 8, for thing B, it says to underline the compound verbs 2 times. Notice, this is one verb, this is 2 verbs. So you underline the verbs 2 times, okay? And then it says, second instruction, there's instruction 1, underline the verbs 2 times. Instruction 2, circle the connecting word. So here I've circled and because it is my connecting word, okay? So you will do that for numbers 1 through 7. Find your verbs, what is happening in the sentence, what is the action. There should be 2 in each sentence, and then circle the connecting word that joins those 2 verbs. For think C, same thing, except there's a little caveat in there that you have to pay attention to. So for part C, it's going to give you both simple sentences and then sentences with compound verbs. So you have to be able to tell whether the sentence only has one action or more than one action. So pay attention to that. Let's do one for an example. Oh, we'll actually do 2. So number 1 says, Moses went into Pharaoh's courts. Moses went into Pharaoh's courts. Pharaoh's courts. Okay. So, what is the verb in this sentence? What is happening? What is the action? Went. Right? Moses went. Did he do anything else? No, he only went. So there's only one verb in that sentence. You would only underline that verb. So for number 2. Number 2 says, Pharaoh rejected Moses' request and increased the work of the Israelites. So take me a minute. Give me a second. Pharaoh let me. Rejected Moses' request. And increased the work of the Israelites. Okay, so what is happening in this sentence? Pharaoh did what? He rejected. And what else did he do? He also increased. So there are two things that Pharaoh did. He rejected Moses' request, then he increased the work of the Israelites. So here is our connecting word, and. He did this and he did that. Okay? So look for that in the sentence. Underline your verbs twice. Make sure that you know the difference between one action or a compound action. Okay? When it's a compound, circle the word that is connecting. Once you're done with that, there's a little look closely there. You can go ahead and do that little fun comment. And then for right D, you can complete that little section and you'll be done for the day. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you, guys.